Alright everybody, welcome back to We Play Games. I'm Walker, and this is Liberty or Death, our campaign with Haiti and Victoria 3. We're aiming to ban slavery in the world. We've managed to ban slavery in some really big nations, but there are some nations here in Africa that we definitely want to bang out as quickly as we can. And I think that we're gonna hopefully be able to get some of these guys to back down with the assistance of our American allies. Now, we are gonna have to turn on the Americans eventually if they can't get slavery banned in Oman through diplomatic means, but I'm more than happy to use the American border to help ban slavery all over. But we've also managed a very important diplomatic coup recently. We were able to pull Great Qing away from the Russian market and into ours. That's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's great because it means we get access to internal demand from Great Qing, but it's also bad because it means we get access to internal demand from Great Qing, and Great Qing probably is going to be buying a lot of the raw resources that our industrialization is going to need. France sided with Buganda? France? Excuse me. In that case, we're going to conquer French Sinai, so that way we get access to the Suez Canal, because we do have the Suez Isthmus as well as the skyscraper that we can do, and we've got plenty of bureaucracy to spend on it. Not the least, of course, because we can actually drop our colonial affairs down to like level 1. But we're going to go ahead and start training our troops with siege artillery. I think siege artillery, and motorized reconnaissance. And given that France is a great power, we should expect them to have some pretty good stuff on their barracks here. Yep, they're using trench infantry and shrapnel artillery, so fighting them is not going to be a pushover. They even have machine guns, which we do not have, unfortunately. And Russia has sided with Buganda. You guys are crazy, because look, Russia, you're gonna lose a lot of land here. We'll liberate Zanzibar. I think we'll do a transfer subject on Kiva. It does generate a little more infamy, but our infamy is still below 50, so it's unlikely that we're going to have any serious diplomatic problems, he says after two great powers have jumped in to help Buganda, of all people. I guess we'll liberate Ukraine just to hurt Russia for jumping in on this war here. We even had a trade agreement with you, Russia. Like, I get that you're mad that we stole Great Qing, but if you didn't want us to steal Great Qing, then you should have treated them better. So with women's suffrage passed, we are going to have an explosion of economic activity. Not to mention the fact that it's going to be a lot more troops that we can potentially get access to. Well, the election went well for our feminist leaders here because we're up to a legitimate government. We could potentially pull the armed forces in, but the armed forces unfortunately would crash our legitimacy, so the only good reason to do that would probably be if we were to work on graduated taxation, but graduated taxation is currently a pretty big dip in terms of our tax revenue, so we'll save that for later. So if we can just get into and occupy Ingria, then we can knock the Russians out and then turn it into a real mess for the other great powers. If we can get debt slavery done in the entire world, I'll be thrilled. Our main goal is slave trade as well as legacy slavery, but there are very few nations with that left. Algeria still has slave trade, Tripolitania still has slave trade, Wallachia and Moldavia still have slave trade for some reason. In the majority of the world, slavery exists only as debt slavery now, mostly thanks to our efforts. There is a Persian uprising against France, so that means that neither of us will be able to enforce that war goal. Japan's not willing to switch to our customs union, then I'm just going to end our defensive pact with them, just so we have a little more influence for a little more infamy decay. Bengal has declared us a rival? Bro, I like that the curve on our population is starting to look more and more like the curve on our GDP. That's a good place to be, I think. I kind of honestly can't believe that our investment pool has floated on entirely empty all game. I mean, it's just because our construction has grown so fast. That's really all it boils down to. All right, well, Russia has given up their empire, so we're gonna annex Khiva as part of our goal here to ban slavery. And then there was France. France is willing to give us war reps and French Sinai. Oh, because of all of our treaty ports, we actually did get to do the scramble for Africa. I can't believe it. I completely forgot about that. We did manage to ban slavery in one nation in 2 years. So at that rate, we should finish banning slavery by Stellaris, I think. Yeah, let's ban some slavery in the new nation of Zanzibar, or the newly freed nation of Zanzibar. And now we're at the point where our economy is so large that we're just going to start overbuilding universities, so that way we get unspent innovation that'll translate into tech spread. It won't necessarily help us get like ahead of the Europeans, but it'll help us a lot in terms of getting whatever technology they are learning. And given how unbelievably expensive technologies are in 1.2 right now, you want to get as much tech spread as you can get your grubby little hands on. Just back down. We won't tell your friends, I promise. If we have to give up on debt slavery, that's okay. There are some very high priority slave trade countries still on the board, like in Ethiopia, but I think it would be nice to be able to get it done in the entire world. It just kind of depends on the behavior of the AI from here on out. I see a lot of people confused about like whether or not you should prioritize the cost of goods. I think largely the answer is no, that the cost of goods should be an output rather than an input. It should be a metric rather than a goal. Because if you have expensive or inexpensive goods, then that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just an opportunity to develop that thing, or an opportunity to trade for that thing if there's an opportunity to trade for it. Eventually you do run out of trade partners. That is the downside to a trade-heavy economy. All right, we have ended slavery in Zanzibar. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit Tigray, and I'm gonna send a bunch of troops straight to the front just to maximize the fear, because hopefully if you pack enough troops up front, the AI will recognize that this is a losing battle and just capitulate. At least that's what we're hoping for. Mexico would join our customs union if we owe them an obligation, but they also are willing to form an alliance with us, and that might be high enough relations for them to just join the customs union on their own. And whatever, if Haiti is just like friends and allies of the world, I don't hate it. Tigray, you are making me insane. How are you not backing down here, dude? I will say, I don't think I've ever experienced what people have experienced, where the private building queue is just building art academies over and over again. I think that's a feature of probably not prioritizing construction the right way. Most of the time, you really do want to just be pushing whatever the highest productivity is. It's really great. It builds a very strong economy very quickly. Oh, and Ukraine had to give us an obligation due to bankrolling. Now we can suck them into our customs union. A+. Holy crap, we're up to the number 2 great power in the world. Oh, baby. UK is dropping like a rock. They're down to 4th. That was what I was looking for when we did the damage in Bengal, and it looks like it has indeed destabilized Great Britain to some degree. Wow, yeah, look at their GDP growth. All right, we defeated Tigray. Kojam, are you gonna also cause us some problems over here? You have to let me know if you're a cop. Oh boy, our army is actually bigger than the British army now. No wonder they've dropped so precipitously in the world. That means that if we can just keep pressing out a bigger navy, then we should be able to just prestige bomb people here. Not to mention that having a larger fleet would actually be really good when it comes to the great power wars that it looks like we're gonna have to fight pretty often. I'm genuinely confused and concerned that you guys are willing to fight these wars. It means that you care more about preventing us from banning slavery in the world than you do about your own safety and security. The one nice side to having guaranteed liberties and therefore just tons of loyalists is that now we can get a lot of laws done without causing any civil wars. But civil wars, as demonstrated over the course of this campaign, shouldn't really scare you that much. And loyalists, although the way that radicals operate in regards to multiculturalism is going to be rebalanced in 1.3, radicals are still pretty useful, especially if you're late game going to be aiming to move into communism and Council Republic. Then you actually really do want radicals. So long as you're running law enforcement and usually home affairs, you can kind of play around with infinite radicals without it being an issue. Yep, Kojam is gonna go down much faster due to the fact that we could naval invade them. We may conquer Lahej, just so that way we have a border with the Qasimid state. All right, Kojam is down for the count. Let's go for Bunyoro. And we're just gonna push out another giant brick of troops. There's nothing else we can do other than try to scare people into submission. France and Great Britain have dropped off enormously due to losing these wars with us. Germany, are you going to be interested in signing a long-term alliance? Because I would not hate having you as just an ally to help us fight these guys. Although Ukraine is an ally, so I guess now we could potentially just puppet Moldavia. I swear to God, Bunyoro, why are you fighting this? One of you watching this should roleplay as Bunyoro and just write me a letter. Why are you fighting this? Is it really because you guys are so desperate to prevent me from banning slavery? Seems awfully childish, Bunyoro. 286,000 migration to Buenos Aires right now. I love to see it. Here is something that is a little annoying in 1.2. I don't know why, but they keep picking like the same states over and over again for mass migrations. So they'll overwrite each other. And so your mass migration will like change from one culture to the next 3 times in the course of 1 year. The population of Haiti has surpassed the population of France. We're also now apparently the #1 country by GDP. Oh my God, we're the #1 great power. Oh, eat it, Germany. Let's go ahead and make Moldavia into a puppet. It is gonna get our infamy a little high, but it's been burning off for so long that I'm not afraid of the 16.5 we get here. And this will give us an opportunity to ban slavery in Moldavia using our Ukrainian alliance. I swear to God, is everybody gonna... Oh, all right. At least Russia is backing Moldavia here, so they're not gonna have a fighting chance, but it makes sense for them to try to fight us. What are they demanding? Oh, they're demanding conquer Khiva. Fantastic. We'll just do that. We will give Khiva to Russia, so that way we don't have to worry about what happens if we try to annex them. Russia is still a great power and quite firmly, so we could use this as an opportunity to also liberate a couple of countries in here. Liberate the United Baltic provinces and Poland. Yeah, sure, why not? All right, war with Moldavia has broken out. So we'll go ahead and launch a couple of naval invasions here. Well, it's a good thing we're willing to give Khiva away because it looks like the Russians are going to get it anyway. We couldn't actually deploy troops on that front, but this is going to work out pretty well. All of this only possible thanks to the Ukrainian alliance here. Dang. It would be really cool of the other great powers, though, if they would, like, stop intervening on the behalf of one province minor somewhere. You guys cannot possibly care if there's debt slavery in Caragua, right? We do have a lot of folks inside of our customs union, but we can't rely on them to develop their own resources. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Kind of depends on the scale of the country in question, but also based off of their laws. So anybody in traditionalism is just way less likely to actually make economic development a priority. Same with Great Qing. If they're still trying to maintain their mandate of heaven, they will basically not build any construction sectors, which is why their GDP mostly goes nowhere. They also have critical breakpoints in terms of their ability to build stuff on their own based off of their GDP and population. So if you immigrant drain a puppet to absolutely nobody, you will get nothing out of them, but sometimes you have larger puppets or dominions who will just be useful all game long. So we're about to unlock dreadnoughts, which is going to give us even more navy power projection, which hopefully will translate into more backing down. It looks like indeed we've knocked Russia down to negative and now they're willing to take the deal. All right, well, let's go ahead and immediately hit Wallachia. Let's ban slavery in Europe. Just back down. What are you doing? This is also a consequence of the AI. It over prioritizes gold reserves, or rather under prioritizes construction when it's small, and that results in them having very high gold reserves, which gives them a lot higher confidence. And so one of the things that I think is really interesting about Victoria 3 is how interconnected everything is, and that interconnectedness even spills over to the AI. All right, we banned slavery in Wallachia. Let's ban slavery here let's try it in Caragua. Somebody's got to back down one of these days, right? Somebody's got to back down. Anybody. Oh, Poland would join our customs union if we just offered them an obligation, but that means that we might be able to just get there by trading with them. Creating a trade agreement is usually a pretty easy way to pull people into your customs union if you're short on influence, and boy, we are short on influence just due to all the diplomacy that we're doing. All right, well, we constructed the Suez Canal. That should be useful. If nothing else, that gives us an opportunity to get a little more prestige here, but hopefully it'll save us some convoys in the long run in terms of our supply routes. Spain backed down in the Diplo play against Germany, but Caragua won't back down in the Diplo play against Haiti, Brazil, the United States, Great Qing, and Ukraine. AI, you guys. All right, Karagwe will sign a peace early, save ourselves just a little bit of time there. We'll do a ban slavery against Rwanda. Rwanda is fighting it out. Of course they are. All right, Rwanda will sign a shorter peace here. Good. All right, let's finalize the Lake Victoria region. I can't believe how quickly we burned through all of those convoys we built up from modern port. We might not even have the trade capacity to absorb switching our skyscraper over from bureaucracy to trade, because we'll need to build a lot more convoys, actually. All right, so we banned slavery in Ankol. Now there's only 28 nations, but really 30 who still have slavery. But very few of these nations that have slavery actually have like slave trade or legacy slavery. Half of these guys out here are debt slavery. The overwhelming majority of actual slave trade is right here, baby. So let's see if we can deal with slave trade right now. Let's go for Tripolitania. Tripoli, there really is no shame in backing down here, friend. I know everybody else has told you that it's totally cool to fight us in our super alliance, but you don't have to follow the crowd. You can be a cool indie kid and just back down and give us ban slavery. Spain sided with Tripolitania. Nope. Spain looked around and said, wait a second, and then left. Oh yes, Tripoli backed down. Thank God. That's one for the history books. All right, you know what? Let's go in for Algeria. Algeria might call in France, which would be complicated, but if they do call in France, we still have the US alliance. I think we're going to need to abandon the US alliance at the end of this episode, or at least like once we've banned slavery inside Jabal Shamar, which we'll need to get there probably by puppeting Nejd and then going into Jabal Shamar. I think once we've dealt with France, then I think we do need to abandon the US alliance, as useful as they have been, because Oman and Tunis both have slave trade here, and although I'm not sure if we're gonna have time to do debt slavery, that kind of just depends on how many of these minor nations refuse to back down. I am certain we're gonna be able to ban like legal legacy slavery as well as slave trade, just because there are relatively few nations left who still have it. Jabal Shamar, Hejaz, Qasimid State, Lahej, Oman, Bahrain has it. So we are definitely closing in on the end here for our campaign of liberty or death. Okay, well, it looks like France actually is not going to defend Algeria, so this is going to be an easier war than I was hoping or fearing. Now, for better or for worse, we are here in 1914, and we kind of haven't been working on any laws for quite some time. We could move into public health insurance, but our population problem really is fixed now. We have 1 million unemployed people, so, you know, that's not a catastrophic amount of unemployment, but it means that if we need to build anywhere and get good value, then the unemployed and peasants just need to move around. And we are still dramatically increasing our GDP, so we don't really care if we're in charity hospitals or in public health insurance here. It would make some IGs happier, but the trade unions are already thrilled with us, and this would take off the industrialists and therefore cost us access to a little bit of investment pool. And I would like to see a positive investment pool by the end of the game if we can get there. But because there's 1 million unemployed, I kind of do not want an unemployment law, because we don't want to be giving all of our potential construction growth away. Although I suppose we are about to drop down to low taxes, so maybe we should consider welfare. But trade is continuing as usual. It's not an import or export specifically focused economy when it comes to our trade. It's just focused on revenue, which is going to be coming from the cost of the goods, but also like the difference between the cost of the goods, which is why I don't really care that much about like how much something costs internally, unless it's something like electricity, where if it's expensive, I know that's going to have cascading problems for everyone because it's used in so many of our buildings. Same with like coal, for instance. But like right here, it just straight up doesn't matter if clothes are at minus 20% or at minus 15%. So if I can export them to some markets, then I should. All right, we banned slavery in Algeria. But I think I'm gonna put a pause in Liberty or Death here. We'll see how this revolution in Spain turns out, but either way, we are gonna have to fight the survivor, because we do need to ban slavery in Spanish Philippines. But outside of Spanish Philippines, literally 100% of the nations that we need to ban slavery in, if we're just going for slave trade: Tunis, Hejaz, Qasimid State, Lahej, Oman, Bahrain, Jabal Shamar. That's it. Outside of that, everything else that you see here, and the Spanish Philippines, everything else you see there is debt slavery. So we might be able to get slave trade done in the next episode. There's just not enough resources left, but that does mean, unfortunately, that we are going to have to turn on the US in very short order. I think we'll want to bang out Nejd and Jabal Shammar first, but after that, it's going to be bye-bye American alliance. All right, that's Walker. Take care.